In this video, we will show you how to perform microarray hybridization on the PCR product. Once the PCR is complete, you can move on to the hybridization. A 12-well, 96-well plate, or 384-well plate may be used depending on the number of samples being analyzed. The 384-well plate format is designed for automation, while the 12-well format is designed for smaller numbers of samples. In this video, we will demonstrate hybridization in the 96-well plate format. You will need the following reagents: Buffer 1, Buffer 2, molecular biology grade water, and a 96-well slide. Open the foil packaging housing the 96-well slide carefully and place in the hybridization chamber. The 96-well plate comes sealed. If the entire plate is not used, carefully remove the seal from the wells that will be hybridized only. Leave the unused wells sealed to avoid any contamination or contact with light and moisture. Make sure when you handle the slide to avoid touching the surface. Use the edge of the slide for handling. Additionally, when dispensing onto the slide or aspirating, avoid touching the surface of the slide with the pipette tips and only dispense to the first stop. This is to avoid well-to-well cross-contamination. The slide is light sensitive, and once the hydration process begins, it cannot be stopped. The slide must stay hydrated at all times to avoid drying on the surface. Prepare pre-hybridization buffer and hybridization buffers. Make sure Buffer 2 is thawed and vortexed before starting. Pour your molecular biology grade water into a new pipette basin. Dispense 200 microliters of MB grade water to each well, only dispensing to the first stop. Use the upper left-hand corner of the well as a guide for the pipette tip. The array is located in the center of the well and should not be in contact with the pipette tip or aspirator. Immediately aspirate and repeat, allowing the water to sit for 5 minutes. After the 5-minute incubation, aspirate from each well. Pour the pre-hybridization buffer into a new clean pipette basin and pipette 200 microliters onto each of the wells and allow to sit for 5 minutes. During the 5 minutes, remove the labeling PCR plate from the thermal cycler. The plate should be briefly centrifuged and the seal carefully removed. Pour the hybridization buffer into a new clean pipette basin. Carefully pipette 18 microliters into each of the wells containing sample to create the hybridization cocktail. Pipette up and down to mix and be careful to avoid any cross-contamination. Change tips between each application. After the 5 minutes is over, aspirate the pre-hybridization buffer from the slide. Pipette 68 microliters, which equates to the entire contents of the hybridization cocktail, from the PCR plate to the slide. Ensure no cross-contamination occurs. Let sit for 30 minutes. During that 30 minutes, create the wash buffer, made of buffer 1 and molecular biology grade water according to the table located in the product insert. Once the 30-minute hybridization is complete, aspirate the hybridization cocktail from the slide. Dispense 200 microliters of wash buffer and pipette up and down 5 times to each well. Aspirate the wash buffer and add another 200 microliters to each well. Pipette up and down 5 times. Repeat this for a total of 4 dispenses, where the 4th dispense incubates for 5 minutes. Aspirate the wash buffer and add another 200 microliters to each well again. Pipette up and down 5 times in each well and let incubate for 5 minutes. This is the second of 3 5-minute incubations. Repeat this step one more time for a total of 3 5-minute incubations. Aspirate the wash buffer and add another 200 microliters to each well again. Pipette up and down 5 times in each well and let incubate for 5 minutes. Immediately aspirate wash buffer and add the final wash buffer, 200 microliters, to each well. Pipette up and down 5 times. Aspirate the wash buffer and immediately dry the slides using the plate centrifuge for 1 to 2 minutes. Make sure the plate is facing down to completely dry the slide surface. Prior to scanning, clean the back of the glass microarray with lens paper or a Kim wipe. Note, if the back of the slide still shows dust and/or streaks, lightly spray the slide with 70% ethanol and wipe dry. Cover the used wells with a new foil seal and mark that the wells have been used. Scan the slides using the Census Spot imager.